Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back and thank you for supporting me. I'm Coretta. So y'all, I've been attending YouTube University trying to educate myself on how to do embroidery. I have watched Making with Marilyn, Tailor Made Designs, The Crafty Puerto Rican, and Angel Bee Designs, just to name a few. So in this video, I will be showing how I created a double layer applique patch using Silhouette Studio and InBrilliance. Come on, y'all. Let's get started. For this project, I will be using Tearaway Stabilizer. I will be using Glitter HTV in the color of my choice, my 5x7 hoop, as well as matching threads. I will leave a list of these items in the description of this video. So to create my double layer applique patch, I am going to first design my file in Silhouette Studio Business Edition. I want my patch to say protecting my piece. So I'm going to add some text to the canvas. To add text, I am going to select the text tool on the left toolbar, and it's the A. I'm going to click anywhere on the canvas, and then I'm going to type protecting my. And then I'm going to click anywhere on the canvas to end the typing. I am going to repeat these steps to type the word piece. Clicking the text tool anywhere on the canvas, I'm going to type piece, and then I'm going to click anywhere on the canvas. Now that I have my text, I am going to change the color of the words to black. To change the color, I am going to select both of my words, and then on the right toolbar, I'm going to select the fill panel, and it is the icon that looks like a paint palette. I'm going to select black. Next, I'm going to change the line color. So I am going to make sure that my words are still selected, and then I'm going to select line style panel on the right toolbar. I am going to select the second icon, which is line color, and I'm going to choose none. Next, I want to select my font. To select the font, I am going to only select protecting my piece. And then on the right toolbar, I am going to select the text style panel, and it looks like an A. Once the panel opens, I am going to select my font. And for this project, I will be selecting Bella Fashion. So here, you can type it in here, or you can scroll down. And so I am just going to type it in, and then I am going to select the text right here. Because I am using a script font, I am going to weld it so that the letters that are touching become one object. So to weld the font, I am going to make sure that protecting my piece is still selected. And on the top menu, I am going to select object, and I am going to select modify, and then I'm going to select weld. Because all the letters were not touching, I am going to group the text to keep everything together. So as you can see, there's a bounding box around the P, there's a bounding box around the ROTECTING, and then the little dot over the I, and then there's like a bounding box over the word my. So to group them, I am going to make sure everything is selected, and then on the top menu, I'm going to go to Object, and then I'm going to select Group. For the word piece, I am going to select the font Arial Black. So I'm going to select the word piece, and then I am going to type in Arial Black in the search bar, select my font, and then click anywhere on the canvas. Now that I have my font selected, I am going to size my design and arrange the text how I want my design to be. Before I size my font, I want to point out that the bounding box around the word piece is actually larger than the word itself. So to get a more accurate size, I am going to make sure that the word is selected, and on the top toolbar, I'm going to select Object, and then I'm going to select Convert to Path. I do not have to do this for protecting my, because when I welded the script font, that changed the bounding box to the exact size of the text itself. So now I'm just going to size the font to fit my, I'm just going to size my text to fit my 5x7 hoop. So I'm going to use the white corners, and I am just going to size my font here, and I'm just going to pull it down like that just so I can get that sized. And then I'm going to size and position, protecting my piece. Okay, so I want my patch to have a double applique layer, and to create that layer, I am going to create an offset around the text. To add an offset, I am going to select the entire design, and on the right toolbar, I am going to select the offset panel, and it looks like a star with a offset around it. So I'm going to select the offset panel, and then I'm going to select offset. I want to change my distance to 0.3 and hit enter. And then I'm going to select apply. So after I created my offset, there's a little piece in here. Let me zoom in so you can see. There's a little piece that's right here in the offset that I don't want. I need to remove that. So to remove it, I am going to only select the offset. And then on the top toolbar, I'm going to select Object. And then I'm going to select Release Compound Path. Now the offset is 2 objects. I am going to select that little piece. I'm going to select this little piece here. And then I'm going to select Delete on my keyboard. And then that little piece is gone. And then I'm just going to do a selection of the entire design to see if there are any other little small pieces that are there. After I delete the piece, I'm going to select the offset again, and I'm going to go up to the top menu, and I'm going to select Objects, and I'm going to convert this back to Path. So this is my design that I want my double layer applique patch to be. And so now I'm going to save the design as an SVG so that I can upload it into my InBrilliance software. To save the design as an SVG, I am going to select the entire design. And on the top menu, I'm going to select File. I am going to select Save Selection. I'm going to select Save to Hard Drive. I am going to stick this in my download folder, and then I'm going to name my file. Once I name my file, I'm going to change my Save As type to SVG, and then I'm going to select OK. So here in InBrilliance, I am using Stitch Artist Level 2, and I have my 5x7 hoop selected. The first thing I am going to do is add the design to the canvas. To add the design, I am going to go to the toolbar, and I am going to select Create Design, and it is the fourth icon from the right. On the tool pane, I am going to select Vector, and it is the icon to the left under the icon, the image icon. So I'm going to select Vector. I am going to navigate to where the file is located. So it's in my downloads. I'm going to select the SVG design, and I'm going to select Open. I want to make sure that the design is in the center of my hoop. So on the Object panel, I am going to select my SVG, and on the top menu, I'm going to select Utility, and then I'm going to select Center in Hoop. Now that the design is centered in the hoop, let's take a look at the object view. On the object view, I'm going to select the plus sign, and that is going to open up all of the, that's going to open up all of the steps that is in my file. And as you can see in my file, like the word my here is missing the centerpiece. Protecting is missing the centerpiece and the I. And the P is off to its own self. And the P is missing the inside here. The A is missing the inside here. So what I want to do is I want to combine all of these objects for each of the words. To combine all of the objects, I am going to go to the Objects panel. Inside of the Objects panel, I'm going to start with the word piece. Since it looks easier, I'm going to select the letter P, and then I'm going to hold the Control key on my keyboard, and I am going to select the center piece of the P. So with both of those pieces selected, I'm going to go to the top menu. I'm going to select Create. I'm going to select Outline. And then I'm going to select Combine Holes. And now that makes the two pieces one piece. Then I'm going to select the A, hold my Control key, select the inside part of the A, go to the top menu, select Create, Outline, Combine Holes. I will repeat this for protecting my piece. Now that I have my objects combined, I want to place them in the order that I want them to stitch out. Currently, the outline is first, then the word my, then the ROTCECTING of protecting is third. Then I have the dot to the I, the P to the word protecting, and I have the word piece. I want the P to stitch out third and the ROTECTING of protecting to stitch fourth, and I want my to stitch last. So I am going to reorder them by selecting the P, and I am going to drag it to the position that I want it. So I want the P to be after the word piece. So I'm going to select it, and I'm just going to drag it down to the bottom under the P, under the E, I'm sorry. And I am going to select the ROTCETING of protecting. I'm going to also drag that down under the P. And then the word my, I'm going to select the my and, no, I'm going to select the dot for the word protecting, the I, and I'm going to put the I after the protecting. And then finally, I'm going to move the word my, and I'm just going to drag it down until it is at the bottom. With the objects in order, I am going to convert this to an Applique embroidery file. In an earlier video, I let the InBrilliance software digitize my applique design. For this project, I am going to create the stitches for this applique patch. To begin, I am going to scroll up to the top, and I want to start with my outline first. And so I'm going to select the outline because I want to create the placement stitch for this outline. And to create the placement stitch, I am going to select the outline again, and then I'm going to make sure that the create is selected as well. The create design icon is selected, and then on the toolbar, the tool pane here, I am going to select the run stitch here. The run stitch is located under stitches, and under stitches there are 2 rows, and it is the second icon on the first row, on the top row. The run stitch is the second icon on the top row. Now on the right side in the property view, on the run tab, I want the type to be single, so it says single, and I want the length of my stitch to be 2.5. Next, I want to create the tack down stitch for the outline, and to do this, I am going to make sure that the outline is selected in my object view, and then on the toolbar, on the top toolbar, I am going to select copy, and that is the 5th icon, and then I'm going to select paste, and that's the 6th icon. On the object view, you can see that I have 2 run stitches. Now, the second run stitch, I want this to be a tack down stitch. And so what I'm going to do is on the property view, on the run tab, I'm going to change my type to double. So I'm going to select the drop down menu, and I'm going to select double, and I'm going to leave the stitch length at 2.5. I am going to select color on the property view. And then I'm going to select the color swatch. And I am going to change this color to another color so that I can tell my machine that when it gets to this step, I need it to stop so that I can add my glitter. So I'm going to select this pale yellow here, and then I'm going to select OK. So now I have my placement stitch and my tack down stitch. Now I want to create the border stitch. So making sure that the outline that I just created is still selected on the object view, I'm going to go to the toolbar and I'm going to select copy, then paste, and that will give me 3 of my outlines. Then on the tool pane under stitches, I am going to select the satin border stitch, and that is the 3rd icon on the top row. On the property view, I am going to go to the satin border tab, and I am going to change my stitch width to 4, and this is how you control how wide your stitches are. So I'm going to change this to 4, and I want my density to be 5 because this controls how close my stitches are. So I want that to be 5. After I change my density, I am going to select the color tab in the property view. I am going to select the color swatch, and then I'm going to change the color to another color. So let me pick a color. I'm going to pick this color here because, again, I want to add a color stop to let the machine know to stop after it does this stitch. So I'm going to change that color, and then I'm going to hit OK. Next, I'm going to create the applique stitches for the word piece. So in the object view, I am going to select all of the letters for the word piece. I'm going to select the P. I'm going to hold down my control key, and I am going to select the E, the A, the C, and the E. On the tool pane under stitches, I am going to select the run stitch, and this is going to be my placement stitch. In the property view, I'm going to select the run tab, and I am going to change my type to single, and I'm going to leave the length at 2.5. I am going to select the color tab, and I'm going to select the color swatch, and I'm going to change the color to put in my color stop. So let me see. I'm going to pick this blue here, and I'm going to select OK. Now I'm going to create the tack down stitch for the word piece. So I'm going to scroll down, and I can see in my object view that piece is still selected. So on the toolbar, I'm going to select copy and then paste. And that is going to give me 2 of the word piece. On the property view, I am going to select the run tab. I'm going to change my stitch type to double, and I'm going to leave the length at 2.5. I am going to select the color tab. I'm going to select the color swatch, and I'm going to change the color and select OK. Now I'm going to create the border stitch. So again, on the objects view, I want to make sure that the word piece is selected. I'm going to go to the toolbar. I'm going to select copy and paste. I'm going to scroll down and I can see that I have 3 of the word piece. On the tool pane under stitches, I am going to select satin border. And then I am going to go to the property view and select the satin border tab. And I am going to leave my stitch width at 4 and my density at 5. I am going to select the color tab. And I am going to change the color. So I'm going to select the color swatch again. And then I'm going to select another blue. And then I'm going to select OK. The final step is to create the stitches for protecting my. So in the object view, I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to select the P, and I am going to select all of the objects for protecting my piece. So holding down my shift key, I am going to select all of the objects. On the tool pane under stitches, I am going to select fill, and that is the second icon on the second row of stitches. In the property view on the fill tab, I am going to change my density to 5. I am going to leave the pattern on tatami. And the stitch length should be 4. So now I have completed all of the applique design steps. So let's take a look at the stitch simulator to make sure that everything will stitch out how I want it. And to open the stitch simulator, I am going to select the stitch simulator icon, and it is on the toolbar, and it is the 7th icon from the right. So I'm going to select that. And at the top, you see this color line here. That is the stitch simulator. You can drag the stitch simulator, or you can press the play button. I am going to drag the stitch simulator. So here you see the placement stitch for the outline, and then you see the tack down stitch, and then you see the border stitch, which is the satin border stitch. Then you see the placement stitch for piece. You see the tack down, and the satin, and then you see protecting my piece. So the stitch simulator looked okay to me. So the next thing I want to do is I am going to color sort. And this will make sure that the stitch out is more efficient and it reduces any extra color changes. So to set up the color sort, I am going to go to the top menu and I am going to select utility, and I'm going to select color sort. When the color sort window opens, it is going to indicate whether the design has been sorted and if it had been reduced by colors. So after it does the sorting, then you want to select New View. A new design page will open, and here you can see the changes. So in the new view, you see that there are 6 steps, and I'm going to go over to the old view, and you can see that there are 22 steps. So the new view will show the sort creating less steps for us for our stitch out. Now that I have my stitches complete, I am going to save the file so that I can take it over to the embroidery machine. To save the file, I am going to go to File on the top toolbar. So on the top menu, I'm going to select File. I'm going to select Save as Stitch and Working File. I am going to locate where I want to save my file, and then I'm going to name my file. I am going to leave my save as type at PES because that is the file type that my machine take. Your file type should be the file type for your embroidery machine. And then I'm going to select save. So now I'm going to hoop my hoop with 2 pieces of tearaway stabilizer. So I have 2 pieces of tearaway stabilizer, and I am going to put it on my hoop, and then I'm going to take the top piece and put that on my hoop, press it down inside, and then tighten up the hoop. Next, I am going to place the hoop on the embroidery machine. Now I'm going to get the design pulled up. My design is on a flash drive that is already inserted in my embroidery machine. And to locate the design, I am going to select the USB icon. Then I'm going to select my file that I want to import. I am going to then select Set. I want to make sure that the design is correctly positioned. So it's in a landscape mode, and so that's fine. Next, I'm going to select In Edit, and then I'm going to select Embroidery. I'm going to lower the presser foot, and then I'm going to press the green button to start the embroidery. The first stitch is the placement stitch for the outline. The next stitch is the tack down stitch, and I am going to place my glitter. I've removed it from the carrier sheet, and so I'm going to place my glitter over my design. And I want to make sure that it's covering the whole placement stitch. And then I am going to lower my presser foot, and I'm going to let the machine stitch out the tack down stitch. I removed the hoop from the machine, and now I'm going to cut away the excess glitter. And when you cut away the excess glitter, you want to make sure that you get as close as possible to your stitches. I've placed the hoop back on the machine, and now it's going to stitch the satin border for the outline. Now the machine is going to stitch the placement stitch for the word piece. I am going to place the glitter down next, and it's going to stitch out the tack down stitch. I've cut away the excess glitter for the word piece, and so now the machine is going to stitch out the satin border for the word piece. The final stitch is the fill stitch for protecting my. Okay, so the patch is finished, and I think it turned out really cute. So what I'm going to do is I am going to remove it from the hoop, and I am going to take away, and I'm going to rip the tearaway stabilizer. And then I'm going to cut the jump stitches that are on the patch. So I'm going to cut those off. So I've cut all the jump stitches off. And again, I think this patch is so cute. It is so adorable. Now with the patch being finished, you can either add heat and bond to the back so that you can apply it to a garment using a heat press, or you can sew this onto your garment or your tote bag. So you can also take a lighter and gently put fire to the edges to clean it up a little bit. I'm gonna do that off camera. But I think that this patch turned out really, really nice. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about the patch? All right, guys, that's all for now. I hope that you're able to follow along with my process. If you like this video and would like to see more, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a video. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will respond back. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.